I didn't realize this until about 2 days ago, but I never made a video talking about what it's like driving a BMW Z3. I've made videos talking about what I love and hate about it, can you daily drive it, etc., but never one about what it's like to drive a BMW Z3. So today, we're going to talk about that. What's up, guys? Hope you're having a great day today. Also, old school Mustang. You can't lie, this thing's kind of cool.
I haven't been able to show you guys this in such a long time. Like literally, it has been so long since I've been able to do this, but exhaust view, cold start, 1998 BMW Z3. You can't lie, that 1.9 liter four banger sounds amazing.
Now when you step inside a BMW Z3, you might think to just put the handbrake down, put it in drive and go, obviously close the door. But no, not in this BMW Z3. You gotta actually wait for the temperature gauge to go all the way past blue so that you can go. And the reason for that is because the transmission has a habit of sticking in gear when cold. So what that means is essentially, while you're in first gear, it'll go all the way up to like 3,000 or 3,500 RPMs before it'll shift. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, here's a video right here. So yeah, you basically gotta wait a little bit for the car to warm up, but usually it takes maybe like 5 minutes for the car to warm up fully. But yeah, so if you're in a bit of a rush, you might want to plan ahead. However, while waiting for the car to warm up, you can first of all put on your seatbelt, safety is important. Secondly, roll the windows down. And thirdly, if it's warm enough, take the roof off. This is the big selling point of a BMW Z3. As most of you know, it's a top-down roadster, convertible, whatever you want to call it. Essentially, you can take the roof off and do this. And now for my long-haired peeps, I think you know what the next step is.
Oh my god, this thing's always a nightmare to maintain.
Perfect. And now that the car is warmed up, we can finally put the car in reverse. Oh yeah, you can't turn it too much, otherwise then it makes some weird sounds and messes with your RPMs. So the thing about this car is that, well, this specific Z3, is that it has an aftermarket muffler. So even if you're going through your parking garage at like 2,000 RPM, you echo through the entire thing even though you're doing like 10 miles an hour. Quite frankly, for an aftermarket muffler, it's kind of loud, but it sounds fairly nice, I'll give it that. There's a cop in front of me in the parking garage. Oh, I'm trying not to go that loud, I guess. Oh god, this is gonna... Ever since the speeding fiasco, I've had a fear of cops. And so it's been just nerve-wracking, to say the least, anytime I'm near a cop. Which is kind of bad because where I live, there are cops everywhere. Like, literally. Oh, you've got to be kidding me. This cop didn't even use his turn signal. Okay, seriously? That's gonna annoy me now. So if that officer is watching, good job. Now, if you hear that sound, that's the turn signal. And what's important is that this BMW Z3 has easy turn signals. So there's no excuse, BMW drivers, on why you shouldn't have your turn signal. Now, I'm sat here at a light and I'm just sitting here in this seat. And I do gotta say, the thing about this seat is that it's not the most comfortable thing in the world. I mean, it's all right. Like, it could be better though. So one of the things I really do love about having this Z3 be a convertible and not the clown shoe, I mean, don't get me wrong, I would love a clown shoe, but this one's a roadster. But my favorite thing about it is that you can literally just turn around behind you, everything's there, there's no blind spots, and obviously, you know, I have mirrors, all that jazz, but I can easily just, yeah, it is kind of cool, I can't lie. I really do like that about this car. Now, I do gotta say, any problems with Z3s, whatever aside, or whatever issues I have with the exhaust, that doesn't matter when you can do this. Oh my goodness. And the thing about doing that is that you're doing the speed limit when you accelerate. So you have a lot of time to just let it yell out and no one will stop you because you're doing the speed limit, you know? Thank you. No, I just got a cop. To the guy in the E90 who just said nice, thank you. Now the thing about being able to just accelerate this thing and still go the limit is that it can be a little bit of a pain if you're driving in groups of people. The other day I was driving up the mountains with some buddies of mine, and I was the one who was always falling behind or holding up other drivers who were behind me, because of the fact that even if I were to accelerate at the rate that they are, I'm miles behind them. So we were discussing the transmission in the Z3s earlier, but one point that I didn't really get to bring up much was manual mode. Now manual mode in the Z3s allow you to shift the car on your own, essentially manually shift the gears. Now the interesting thing about that is if you bring it into second gear, right? It is very much more peppy than third gear is. Like third gear is fairly fun, especially if you're like on the back roads or something like that. Now I'm on the highway now, and driving the Z3 on the highway can be, I mean, it's fairly fine. Like it's like driving a normal car on the highway, but the thing about it is that I live in a city where people speed like crazy, literally. If I had a nickel for every single time a guy passed me on the freeway doing triple digits, I would be rich. Like I would probably have enough money to afford another BMW Z3, put a new engine into that BMW Z3, and run with that BMW Z3 for a while. Now anyways, talking about driving this BMW Z3, I'm doing the speed limit, I'm going with traffic, and you can tell it is very windy. Like I don't know how much the camera is really shaking, but it's probably shaking quite a bit, I would assume, because in real life this camera is wobbling left and right, and I don't even know if you guys can hear my voice or not because of how much wind there is. Surprisingly though, if you have stuff in the passenger seat, it just stays there. Like literally my keys, part of the GoPro stuff, it's all just sat in the passenger seat. It has not moved a muscle. When I first had this car, I was so nervous that everything was just gonna go flying out of it. No, nothing has moved. Nothing moves except for this GoPro. So now as I pull into some random parking lot in God knows wherever, there's a Tractor Supply code right in front of me. We come to a stop, and you might have noticed that the RPMs just went up a little bit and then dropped completely. That's one of the problems with this Z3. When it goes from third to second, it always does that, and I don't understand why. When it would do that initially, it was because of the bend solenoid, but the bend solenoid got replaced and it still does that, and I can't figure out why. If you guys know how I can remedy this or why it's acting like this, let me know in the comments below. But all that being said though, it's still very easy to just have a chill driving experience, just keep it at low RPMs and just relax. While yeah, it is amazing in the back roads and it loves to scream, I'm gonna put some clips here of me just sending it. While yeah, the car likes to go full send sometimes, it's also just easy to just have a chill driving experience, chill vibe, and just drive the speed limit. Until you have to go about 70 miles an hour. When you go 70 miles an hour, you gotta keep the car in fourth gear at 3,000 RPMs, which can be a large pain. For example, this is about 2,800 RPM. Now 3,000 is much louder than that, and it can also be very much more windy. Now, while I've shown you the car just going full send and all of that, sometimes it's just nice to have it be chill and just below 2,000 RPMs. Like right now, it's at about 1,900 and it's just going the speed limit and it's just relaxed, you know? It's not too windy, it's not too intense, it's perfect. Legitimately, sometimes it's just nice to drive the car like this. I'll take this car sometimes to downtown and just cruise it around there, you know, keep it at like 2,000 RPMs because downtown speed limits are slow, and it can just be a vibe. Because where I live, there are skyscrapers and all of that jazz, so I'll just see skyscrapers right above me and I'll just look up sometimes and I'll be like, oh my god, that's so beautiful. It actually makes me feel really excited because I just got a new job where I'm gonna have to be working in that downtown, and I'll be taking, ironically enough, this Z3 to that downtown. I don't know why, it's just felt harder to talk, you know? Now here's another truth about driving this BMW Z3. and that is that this car is small. Like, I'm able to do, I guess, like a 5-point turn out of here. If I was in the Clarity or if I was in an SUV, it would probably take me a good 7, maybe 8, 9-point turn. I don't know. It would have been a long while before I had gotten out of there. I don't know why I made that turn into there, but I guess I did. But on that note, though, I always love doing that. Now, I made a video in the past talking about daily driving a BMW Z3. I gotta say, that is completely different to just driving a Z3. Because on a daily drive, you're not gonna send it at like 6,000 RPM every day, especially when your red line is 6,800 RPMs. But we'll get to that in another day. But when you're driving a Z3, you don't think about things like the trunk space, the reliability, the fact that there's a check engine light. You think about the fun things, such as its exhaust. You think about just driving it around, exploring back roads, doing things in just general, making every drive more fun. That being said, there are still things about that is very annoying, such as, you know, the transmission sticking, and the car sometimes just having a 500 RPM idle and giving you a back massage. A big con about having the roof off, though, is that you tend to smell a lot more things, and like right now, the smell of a certain leaf, if you will, is very apparent. Now, I do gotta say, suspension travel in this car, it's all right. It's like in the middle. It's not as soft as something, say, like a Honda Civic or a Honda Accord or something like that, but it is at the very least softer than a Miata. And trust me, I've sat in enough Miatas, stock and modified, to know that they can be very bumpy. Comparing the Z3 to a Miata obviously is a bit luscious and nice, but it still has the sportiness that something like a Civic doesn't have. Now, just for some final notes, I will say, in terms of driving my BMW Z3, if I could change some things about this car, one, I'd wish it was a manual transmission so that way all these transmission problems would be a lot easier to deal with, since BMW manuals are a lot more reliable than GM automatic 4-speeds. Along with that, I would probably not want to daily drive this car every day. Like, for me personally, I would not want to daily drive this car. I am daily driving this car, but I do gotta say, sometimes it can be a little bit of a pain when it's like 6 in the morning and an exhaust is just rattling your brains out. It's not fun, but I mean, hey, sometimes in life. And just like that, this video is over. If you liked it, leave a like. If you didn't, leave a dislike. Let me know what you think about this video in the comments below. And if you like what you're seeing, leave a subscribe. And just like that, I'm out. I highly recommend you try driving a BMW Z3 at least once. Peace.